Welcome once again to Cinemaholics. I'm John Agroni, and with me, of course, is Will Ashton.
Hey, how are we doing?
Hey, Will, it's been a long time since we talked about movies together. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's been too long.
Yeah.
I miss it.
I miss you. All the time.
Well, you've been busy on the pen, I guess, just
That's
jotting away
true.
these stories.
That's true. My creative fiction career has been blossoming, and look, Will Ashton. I don't know if I've shown you my new books that are out in paperback right now. Look at this. The people listening can't see, and they're like, "Okay, I don't care." But yeah, we're just having fun over here.
Yeah, you've been published a few times now over the course of the year for various stories you've written.
Yeah. And I got some more stuff coming out by the end of the year. Fun times. But of course, I can't hold a candle to, the fine filmmakers that we're going to talk about today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, today we're going to talk about Train Dreams and Wake Up Dead Man and Sentimental Value. But play a little bit of a new game, a brand new game. It's totally new.
Okay.
And Will doesn't know about it. I'm surprising him with this. Okay. So Will Ash, the name of this game is called Film Roulette. Okay. And it's super simple. It's not complicated. All it is I'm going to say the name of a film, and you have to give me your immediate, instant, unfiltered, one sentence reaction.
Okay.
Okay. It can be any film. Who knows which ones I'm going to pick? But the point is that you can't pause and be like, and then give me a paragraph. Like, that's not what this is. You could, of course, say other things, but the whole point is around the one sentence. Okay. Make sense?
Okay.
Film Roulette?
Yeah, I understand it, but I'm also probably going to end up saying 5 sentences anyway.
I'm sure, but we'll see. This is the first time doing it, right? And
sure.
If we get through it and you feel like there's anything I missed and you want to turn around on me, you have that option if you so choose. But we'll see. All right, first film, J. Kelly.
Yeah, I like J. Kelly. It's more. I'm going to be paraphrasing our good friend Corey Woodruff, who aptly described it as a sort of bitter pill of a film. Yeah, it's. I feel like some people aren't really reckoning with how kind of dark and not sentimental it is. Not sentimental value, as it were. Though it'd be an interesting double feature. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I want to see it. I have it screenered up. It's on my list of things to get to. I have Secret Agent ahead of this one, and I think a couple other things on my list. Will has seen my screener list, so Will is aware of what I've been watching and has been judging me from afar. Okay, next film, Wicked for Good.
I was disappointed by it. I thought the first one was all right. This one, I think, kind of gets lost in the sauce a little bit as far as its connections to The Wizard of Oz. I feel like it just gets it doesn't make a lot of sense in the narrative it tells. It feels like a classic prequel thing where it wants to kind of set the stones for what's going to happen as opposed to what would make sense for the story that they told. So yeah, I was disappointed.
I've heard a resounding similar sentiment. I actually edited the review for this on In Between Drafts. I helped out Allison Johnson because the film editor, John Winkler, the illustrious John Winkler, who can do no wrong, I was filling in for him. As folks know, I used to be the film editor for In Between Drafts before I stepped down. But yeah, Allie wrote the review for this, and so I got to find out through her. I was like, oh yeah, I wasn't surprised because that's kind of how the play. I mean, it kind of peaks at Defying Gravity, and so I wasn't really expecting this to be like a high quality thing. It doesn't have a lot of showstoppers apparently, so I haven't seen it yet. It's way down on my list. I'll probably get to it at some point, but it's not high. Okay, next film, Bugonia.
Oh, I like Bugonia. I also enjoyed the original film, Save the Green Planet, and I wasn't really sure how close it was going to tie to that film, especially as a English language remake. But yeah, it's a little bit more optimistic than that, and I'll leave it at that.
I liked Bugonia as well, but I will say I prefer the Plemons performance over the Stone performance, to be honest.
I would agree. Mm-hmm.
Next one, One Battle After Another.
My favorite film of 2025. I loved it.
I'm still figuring out what my favorite movie of the year is, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for One Battle to get topped. Yeah, at this point. But you know what? There are some people who are like, One Battle After Another, maybe we could have done with, a second draft, I guess. Not everybody liked it. But
Second draft after another is what you're
I
trying
don't
to
know.
say?
I
Okay.
lost it. I lost the train of dreams thought,
Hmm.
yeah.
Would
The
you,
Perfect Neighbor. Oh, sorry, what?
I haven't seen Perfect Neighbor. Is that what you just said?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. I want to. It's on my list. Did you? Yeah, you saw Sinners. What'd you think of it?
We didn't talk about Sinners? I know we didn't
No.
talk about when it came out because I watched it late.
No, you saw and we never talked about it.
Sinners, good movie. Really good movie. I can see why it's a lot of people's favorite of the year. It's a real crowd pleaser. It had everything that I wanted. That was one of those movies where I think I was more disappointed the first time I saw it because I wasn't sure what to expect and the hype kind of got to me. And I was expecting something more kind of bloodbath. And it ended up being a little bit more muted, like toward the end. I love the setup. Like the first hour of that thing just moves so well, and I could just sit with it. And I really dug the ending. I thought it was well done. It was a little bit predictable, but I mean, it's just amazing to me that there aren't a lot of filmmakers who get to do what Ryan Coogler is doing with stuff that's so original but so spectacle heavy at the same time. He's definitely so gifted at just pulling that off. Even though he's not the best action director, which Sinners isn't a great action movie, but it doesn't need to be. That thing's a musical.
Sure. Yeah, it's a barn
better
burner.
Musical than Wicked for Good, apparently.
I would agree. Yeah,
I haven't seen Wicked for Good. Yeah. But yeah, you said you didn't see The Perfect Neighbor. Perfect Neighbor is good. I hope you get to it.
I want to.
After the Hunt.
I haven't seen that one either. Yeah, I never got around to seeing it in theaters. It wasn't in theaters long. I heard it wasn't very good.
I also have not seen it. Also have not heard it's good. But I have heard it's good from one or two people who I trust. And I'm thinking I'm not going to like it, but I kind of want to see it. I want to give it my own. I want to give it a chance. I want to give it a shot. I want to hunt it down.
I know, at least in private, you've been critical of Ayo Adibri's acting, and
hasn't been private. You remember our bottoms review? I didn't say bottoms up. I said bottoms down when we talked about that movie. I'm not the biggest fan. I like her in The Bear.
I heard she's not great in After the Hunt. I thought she was good in Bottoms, though, so I don't know. I think she's really hit or miss. I've never watched The Bear.
I think she's better in dramatic performances than comedic ones so far. But
I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of the opposite so far, but I haven't really seen a lot of her dramatic performances, so I can't gauge.
If I had legs, I'd kick you.
Oh, it's one of my favorites for the year. I actually kind of, as much as I enjoy Die My Love, I don't know if that was one of the films you were going to bring up. I kind of think it's a little bit better in some respects. I kind of hurt my viewing of Die My Love by seeing If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You first, because I feel like that was such a blistering but also compelling and engaging and darkly funny take on motherhood and the turmoil and desire for selfhood amid this societal pressure and all this stuff that's going on with that film. And I thought Rose Byrne was just fantastic. I think she might be my favorite female performance of the year. And I thought Conan was a delight, as was A$AP Rocky. I think he's been becoming a fine young actor as well.
Yeah. I really, I like this one at Sundance, and glad you brought up. Die My Love was on the list, but I'm crossing it out over here. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Die My Love, I wasn't the biggest fan either, but yeah, hopefully.
Oh, I like Die My Love. I just think, it's
I wasn't the biggest fan, to be honest. And I saw these two movies pretty far apart.
Yeah, I mean, I saw them probably within a week of one another, but I feel bad because I think if Die My Love came out the same year, which I think was last year, as Night Bitch, it would have been oh yeah, this is the much better version of this film. But coming after If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, it's oh, you kind of have to play second fiddle to that one, which is ultimately, in my opinion, the better of the two. So,
all right, next film, Eternity.
I don't have a thought on that one because I haven't seen it, but the trailer looks interesting. It looks a little Defending My Life-y, which I love that movie. Sorry, Defending Your Life, the Albert Brooks film. And I have a screener for it, so I was going to try to watch it sometime this week. I've heard mixed things.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I think it's total Oscar bait. I shouldn't say Oscar bait. I think it's one of those movies that I think is going to do well with Academy folks. It's very, how should I put this? It's very warm soup. There's nothing hot and spicy about it. It's kind of it almost this isn't a pejorative. It's almost kind of got TV movie energy, a little bit of Netflix movie energy with a slightly higher quality because it looks good. And I liked the ideas in it. I really like the Davine Joy performance. I think it's a good movie. I could see why some people are kind of I had to wait an eternity for this movie to come out.
Yeah, no, I mean, are you like comparing it to like The Good Place or something? Like, what do you mean by TV?
It does inherit a lot of like The Good Place's sort of like, existential romantic comedy dread, but I would say Good Place is a smarter, construction, like overall. Like Good Place has some like really interesting ideas over the course of that show. Eternity, it's doing the same old kind of like, let's take the idea of like a tacky bureaucracy and apply it to something that is like abstract. And we've seen that how many times, but there were like small doses of cleverness here and there. And I think the whole point of the movie is the kind of like the deeper questions about like love and like the big dramatic question of the movie. I don't think it's super rewatchable though, because I feel like you watch it and it's like it all hinges on who's she going to choose. And I think like by the time you get through the whole thing, it doesn't seem like something I think people are going to be a wash in of like, oh, I've rewatched this movie every couple of years or whatever. I think it's like kind of one of those like, oh, that's like a kind of interesting idea. But again, though, I think it's like really well suited to like Oscar voters, to be totally honest with you. So I could see it having some play there, but well, who knows?
Have you seen Defending Your Life?
Mm-mm.
Okay, you should watch it. It's good. Great Rip Torn performance, good Meryl Streep performance, fun movie. I like it.
All right. Okay, next one, Hamnet.
I'm going to see that this weekend, I think. I still need to see that one. I didn't get a screener for it.
Okay. I just filed my review for it. It's a 7 out of 10, which sounds like, 7 out of 10. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's a good rating.
It's not. It's not bad. But like, it's Chloe Zhao. It's Paul Mescal. It's Jesse Buckley. Like, you're telling me it's only a 7 out of 10? What happened? You have to read my review. Something went wrong here.
I've heard extremely hyperbolic reactions. Like, I think there's like a poster going around saying it's like the best movie ever or something that they had a pull quote for. And then I've heard other people be like, I just don't get this. Like, what? Like, they don't get the praise. I mean, like,
they
don't get where people are coming from. I don't know. It doesn't really seem like my kind of bag, but I like Chloe Zhao. So, with the exception of Eternal, so I want to like it. I feel like I'm going to be a kind of like you, probably like maybe a little ho hum, maybe like don't love, but
I wanted to like it too. And I had space with it. This wasn't like an instant reaction. Like I gave it about a week, and I was like, yeah, wait, what?
You were holding space for it.
I just had to be in the right mindset. Okay, next one, Zootopia 2.
I haven't seen that one yet either. I feel bad. These last few you've been mentioning, I haven't seen, but I want to see it.
I want to see it.
I heard it's all right.
I thought about checking it out this past week, but I just didn't get to. I couldn't go to the screening, and I don't know. I didn't love the first one. I thought it was a good movie overall, but I don't think it's aged super well, to be honest with you. I'm just gonna put that out there.
I heard they dropped the race allegory, which might be for the best, because that's kind of the thing about the movie. It's like I don't know. It's one of those things. I think it's very 2016, and I think it means well. I don't really think it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Even at the time, I remember being like, I don't think this allegory really makes a lot of sense, but I get what they're going for, and it's ballsy of them to try to do that in a Disney film, and I can appreciate that. But it seems like this is kind of more just about the animals.
Yeah. There's the animals having fun, I guess. It was a funny snake, apparently. I don't know.
There's the Chinese translation of the title is Crazy Animal Town, and I guess that's kind of the vibe of this one.
Yeah, in the UK, don't they call it like Zootropolis or something? I don't know.
Something like that. Which doesn't make sense, because
it's not
Utopia.
Utopia.
Zootopia is a pun on Utopia,
right?
So Zootropolis.
Metropolis. It's okay. I'll let it slide.
Sure.
They have their rules over there, I guess. Okay, next one. There's only a few left. Rental Family.
Again, I haven't seen this. These last few I haven't seen. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. The point of Film Roulette is to get your reaction, not necessarily that you saw it. But, if there's anything that the first thing you think of, you're like, oh, Brendan Fraser.
What are those dolls that everyone likes right now?
The Labubus?
Yeah. Rental Family looks like Lost in Translation for people who own Labubus. Is that accurate?
It's not the most unfair.
Yeah.
No, I actually think it's got a sweet, soulful side to it. I understand some of the negativity coming for that one. I think that's like another like kind of film that I definitely liked. I thought was good, but it has some weaknesses. All right, next one, Rebuilding.
Yeah, that one hasn't come out, I don't think.
Yeah, it came out in limited release. Oh. It's going to be expanding a bit more, but
yeah, I don't think I even have a screener for that one. Who's distributing that one?
I'll definitely look it up, actually. And I wanted to make sure I brought this one up because we're going to be talking about another film with Josh O'Connor in a minute. So let's see here. Bleecker Street.
Oh, it is Bleecker Street? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think I've gotten anything from them, so that might explain.
Okay. Yeah, well, it hit limited November 14th. I mean, it's probably pretty limited, and then I'd imagine it's expanding more because it's got some buzz. It's got some
I've
little
really
bit of play
enjoyed the Josh O'Connor films I've seen this year. I don't want to give my opinion on Wake Up Dead Man.
I'll say it's one of my favorites of the year. It's my top 5 probably.
I mean, the trailer for it looks like pure Sundance, like almost a stereotypical Sundance film.
They might as well put it in the title, rebuilding a Sundance story.
Right, yeah, a Sundance Tale. A Sundance Dance. The ballad,
The Ballad of Josh O'Connor.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed Josh O'Connor's films that I've seen. I mean, of the 3 that I've seen, I mean, I feel like
Challengers, Rebuilding, and what's the third one?
No, Challengers was last year.
Oh, I thought you just meant in general. Okay.
No, I was going to say there's a History of Sound, which I feel like I'm more positive on than most people I've talked to. I found that one quite touching. It doesn't,
haven't seen it.
You know, it doesn't reinvent the wheel or anything. It's, you know, kind of your weepy, gay tragedy romance. It's nothing you haven't seen before, but I thought it was really lovely and well executed and gorgeous cinematography. And I don't know, I love how patient and sort of simple but also expansive it is and refined in a way that you don't really see in a lot of films these days. And The Mastermind, which I feel like you were leading up to, maybe you were going to mention that, is one of my favorite films of the year, the Kelly Reichardt film. I love that movie. I think it's fantastic.
Haven't seen it. Seen it.
So good.
Yeah, I'll have to up that up my list. I don't have a screen or anything for it, but yeah.
I think it's on Mubi, or it's going to be on Mubi. Yeah, I think you'll really like Mastermind. It's a heist film of sorts.
I mean, you know, I love heists.
I feel like the beginning of the film, like maybe the first half in particular, kind of plays like a John Negroni short story of sorts. So I think you'll like it.
For people who don't know what that means, you're probably better off. All right, Peter Hujar's Day.
Oh, that's high on my list. I don't think it's available.
That's also unlimited.
Yeah, it never came here. I was sad to say that it never came here because I really like Ira Sachs and I enjoyed Passages was his last one, right?
Was that the last one?
I think so.
I'll have to double check. It feels like it wasn't that long ago, but okay.
I quite enjoyed that one. I love Love is Strange. I really like Keeping the Lights On or Keep the Lights On. I forget the exact title of the film, but yeah, I really enjoy his stuff and I'm excited to see that one. I heard it's fantastic.
Yeah, you're right. Passages is 2023. For some reason, I thought it was like 2021, and I was like, I thought maybe there was something in between, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, cool. Well, I only have one left. Okay, and this is the biggest one. It was going to be Die My Love, but that's no longer the last one.
I mean, I didn't really get to say. I guess like only touched on it. I mean, I like Die My Love. It's my least favorite of the Lynn Ramseys. Lynn Ramsey's one of my favorite directors, so I kind of went in with pretty high expectations. So I had heard into it that
You Were Never Really Here is like one of my favorites of like that decade.
Yeah, I mean, We Need to Talk About Kevin is a masterclass film. I think it's fantastic. And yeah, I mean, I also really like Mover Caller, one of her lesser seen films, but another really good film. Yeah, I think it's on the lower end of her stuff, but I enjoy how uninhibited and engaged Jennifer Lawrence was. It was kind of Gia Rollins-esque in some respects, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay, the actual last one.
Okay.
Tyler Perry's Finding Joy. No, I'm just kidding.
I did see that one. You must have looked at my letterbox.
Well, you just logged it the other day. No, but for real, Predator Badlands.
Predator Badlands is interesting. I'll just have to shoot off the hip because you don't want me to think about it. I think it's very well directed, but it also feels like it's an audition reel for like a Star Wars movie. Like it doesn't really feel fully like a Predator film. It kind of feels like it's very much in the Disney machination, which is a little disappointing considering that Prey was able to kind of, not that I think that's like a flawless film, but Prey was able to kind of be its own thing, but like feel within the like Predator universe. You know, it doesn't feel like it's like trying to, you know, hit the 4 quadrants with Predator. But yeah, I liked it. I feel like it's very well made considering the folks that they have on Disney's payroll. I don't feel like I walked away feeling that strongly about it, though.
One way or the other?
I was stopping myself from saying that.
Okay, so did you have anything for me?
Well, I wanted to know about Avatar, Fire and Ash.
Well, we do have an embargo for that.
Oh,
yeah, but I did see Avatar Fire and Ash last night. Sorry?
Social media embargo seems to be open, though.
Well, yeah, but this isn't social media. This is Cinemaholics, the review show. Come on. I guess, my Letterboxd review was social media. I said, people need to stop complaining about these movies. They have whales and songs grow up.
I heard it's a courtroom drama, and that makes me more excited than I already am.
Oh, was that like a fake tweet or something?
No, I heard that one of the characters is on trial.
There is like there is like a thing. It's actually, now that you bring it up, it's not that scene, but like there is one scene before that that's the same kind of deal, and it has my favorite dialogue in any of these movies. I loved it so much. It's like one of those things you're not going to get it until you see it, but it's like something I want to quote to you for the rest of my life.
No,
anyway,
I understand.
Avatar: Fire and Ash is 3 hours and 15 minutes long, and my social media reaction for real though is like, I feel like I binged an entire season of a TV show in one sitting. That's what it feels like watching it, even more than Way of Water.
I was gonna say, I feel like you said that about Way of Water.
Way of Water was different. I felt like Way of Water did not have as much going on. It was like a pretty through line narrative where, because they hide out with the water people, and most of the movies then kind of fish out of water and all that, and like learning the ways, and then like they have the big action sequence in the end. This movie has so much more happening, like way more scenes, way more like, we're going here, we're going there. There's like a 20-minute like action scene that just keeps going, and it's like, I'm withholding like what I think of it.
I mean,
for the embargo, but it's different.
That sounds like At World's End, like how there's just so much happening in that movie.
Yeah, that's a great comparison, actually. And yeah, I mean, well, excited for you to see it because I want to talk to you about it. But okay, I will say, one movie you did not mention, that I did see, that I want you to see immediately, is The Baltimorons. You thought I was going to say The Testament of Anne Lee, because then I would have rhymed it. But no, I wanted to mention The Baltimorons.
I mean, I want to see both those. I don't know if The Baltimorons is streaming yet or available to rent. But
Baltimorons is better. Testament of Anne Lee is like, the first like 30 minutes I thought was cool. That movie, it falls apart. It really does.
I've heard, kind of similar to Hamnet. Like some people love it, and some people are like, I don't know what is going on here.
All right, well that's Film Roulette. Very fun. We covered a lot of ground, right? And now we can go a little bit deep into some movie reviews. There we go.
I was a little disappointed. I mean, that was fun. I would gladly do it every day of the week. But I was a little disappointed because you were hinting that you were going to talk about some older films. I thought you were going to like throw out like
maybe another version of Film Roulette. I would do that. I think part of the reason I didn't is because we've had so much time since the last time we talked about a film together. I wanted to condense it to the relevant recent stuff, right? So, I did older. One Battle After Another doesn't count as older. That came out ages ago. I finally asked you about it.
I mean, I asked you about Defending Your Life. That's like a film from the 90s. You only brought films from 2025 and 2024.
Fine. The Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Gee, I wonder what year to say that.
That's my favorite film of all time. Well, I don't know why you brought that film up.
There we go. Okay. With that, let's get into our first movie. I think the one we should probably start off with is Wake Up Dead Man, because that one came out most recently. I think that's the one people are going to be most curious about because it hasn't been out long. It's been in limited release, I want to say. Or did they do wide?
Well, it's confusing because like they didn't do the thing they did with Glass Onion where they like, got all the chain theaters to like do a 1 week commitment. They can show it wherever they like want for as long as they want, but it's not most of the chain theaters. So it's like mostly independent theaters are playing it, but they can play it for, they can play it 2 weeks, 1 week, 3 weeks, however long they want to do it.
It is pretty select. It's only made 3 million. So yeah, it's not a wide release for sure. I mean, it hit the select theaters on the 26th. So not quite a week ago. And yeah, it premiered at TIFF back in September. It had a couple other, I think it was also at BFI and maybe some other places as well. It's going to be on Netflix on December 12th. So I think that's when most people are going to be most curious about it because, they'll be able to check it out on Netflix. I didn't see it in a theater, so I can't talk to the theatrical experience, but did you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to see it.
Very cool. Very cool.
On the big screen. Yeah.
Well, this is the third Knives Out mystery film. It's called Wake Up Dead Man. a Knives Out film. Is that how they say it? I forget.
A Knives Out mystery.
A Knives Out mystery. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's essentially the modern, Hercule Poirot, Agatha Christie stuff, except it's Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig, and these aren't based or adapted from any existing, murder mystery stories from 50 years ago, or more than 50 years ago now. But yeah, so we had Knives Out back in 2019. We had Glass Onion a few years later. I think the basic consensus is that Knives Out really well received. People really loved that movie. I thought it was a great film, really innovative with like the format, and lots of fun surprises, a lot of quotable moments, lots of, to this day, the movie has like a lot of like lasting memes and everything like that. Glass Onion came out kind of at a weird time because it was like we were sort of like coming out of like the lockdowns and stuff, and we had like the vaccines, and so Glass Onion, definitely ages with the COVID stuff, because that's part of some of the construction of the movie, is like some of the characters, come out of lockdown essentially. And I think like people liked Glass Onion. It did well. I thought it was good. It wasn't quite as, I think, lasting, or like it didn't have quite the big like pop culture breakthrough punch that Knives Out did. But I don't think, people weren't like trashing it, right?
No, I mean, there's some like stuff in it that's like kind of cringy, especially like there's like a
there was too in
Zoom
Knives
call.
Out, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think deliberately the design of that movie, and these movies are like so clever, and we'll talk about that more in depth hopefully, but the first movie is so tightly wound. Like he spent years putting it together. Like he thought through every conceit of it and how it was going to be put together, much like the knives chair that's in the first movie. And this one, it's Glass Onion, so it's like the idea like is like it seems like it's more complex than it is, but it's really just kind of transparent and straightforward, and that kind of lends itself to a film that's like has fun twists. It's entertaining, but it's deliberately kind of meant to be more frothy and kind of sillier than the first movie, and so I think that makes for a fun first viewing, but doesn't reward itself in the same way that I think the first movie
agree.
does.
I'll give Glass Onion this. I loved the inherent message of it. Like what you're saying of like ultimately sometimes like people are just dumb. Sometimes people are just evil, and there isn't this like intricate Scooby-Doo mystery thing going, or I shouldn't say Scooby-Doo, but this like intricate Sherlock Holmes like motivation that's going to explain. No, sometimes people just do really dumb things. And like sometimes the most simple explanation is the explanation. And I thought that aspect of it was kind of nice. Everything kind of happening around it, I didn't think was like quite as, memorable. Like I struggled to remember a lot of the movie. I'm curious how much I'll remember of Wake Up Dead Man in retrospect, right? Because you don't really know until some real time has passed. But it's like an anthology, right? So you can watch these things on there. You do not have to know anything about Knives Out or Glass Onion to watch and hopefully enjoy Wake Up Dead Man. But as a movie, I do think it is a little bit more returning to really like the feel of Knives Out, just on a like visceral, atmospheric level. Because Knives Out was like New England, kind of like, like trees, and like there was a little bit of like a foggy kind of thickness to it, and of course playing up like the Agatha Christie of it all. And this one is kind of returning to that in like a sort of upstate New York. It's like a little bit more earthy, a little bit more of like you have these like cathedrals, you have a little bit more architecture to it. Glass Onion was like vacation, Triangle of Sadness kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's going deliberately for a more gothic kind of, high and mighty, like it has to do with these old standing religious cathedrals and this like old small town, and like kind of like the sense of small community, and then like kind of one thing that I think did really kind of hinder Glass Onion is that it very much felt like a movie where Rian Johnson was writing it while he was on Twitter. And there's a lot of just like Twitterness to it. Not like in a direct sense, but just like Twitter humor reference of. And I feel like this movie, it's like him going back to reading print books. Like it feels more, like he kind of put the tablet down, thankfully, to when he was writing this one. I think it's for the better.
Well said. Yeah. Rian Johnson, by the way, we should be super clear, directed and wrote the film. He has the sole writing credit. I'm sure he had like a writer's room or something, maybe. I shouldn't say sure, but yeah, the other big difference between this and Glass Onion is that Glass Onion really did feel more like a Daniel Craig movie. Like it was kind of his adventure. It was kind of positioning him as the Hercule Poirot a little bit more. Whereas like Knives Out, he was like the supporting lead. In Wake Up Dead, man, this movie is Josh O'Connor's. And to a lesser, not a lesser extent, but to a very close extent, Josh Brolin. Like this is like them, like kind of battling it out throughout the whole thing. Everybody else in it is kind of like caught in their wake, I guess. I think Glenn Close, you could say, comes closest maybe to sort of being like one of the heavy hitters here in terms of like, who is this movie really about? But Josh O'Connor, man, this is his movie, right? Like we even don't we don't get, Benoit Blanc until pretty late in the film. And I wasn't missing him. I wasn't sitting there being like, wait, where's my buddy? Where is my Louisiana detective?
You do see Benoit Blanc very, like, he's the first person
Yes.
you see, but after that, you don't see him until like 35 minutes into the film or something like that. Yeah.
Right. The construction of the film is like, just to give away some of the plot, right? And not spoil it. But essentially, the movie is about a young priest who used to be a boxer. He's a little rough around the edges, but he has a very deep faith. The Catholic Church, he credits as really having like dug him out of some like tough circumstances and made him a better person. But he's still, he's a little bit like tempered at times, and he gets into some trouble at the beginning of the movie, and they kind of just ship him off to this sort of like reject, community where the priest, who's played by Josh Brolin, is kind of just this persnickety, definitely like a little bit of like car salesman sort of priest, not even car salesman, but almost like a quasi cult leader. And in the way that he has like collected this like group of regulars to the church and purposely shut out everybody else. And so the movie is kind of investigating this whole thing of like, some things go down, which like the less we say about it, the better in terms of like what happens in this movie. But needless to say, there is a big mystery around a certain character and what happens to them. And there are tons of suspects. But really the movie is sort of investigating this idea of like the relationship between faith and, atheism, and what it means like to have to solve like the impossible mysteries of life. The actual like mystery at the heart of this thing is like purposely obtuse and so convoluted, but that's like kind of the point of the movie, is it has to like bring in Benoit Blanc at a certain point to sort of bring clarity to everything. And in typical Knives Out fashion, it changes up the rules of like what these movies can be and how they can tell a story. And so much of it is just Josh O'Connor like narrating, because it's like the framing device is that he is explaining everything that has happened so far in this sort of like super extended prologue to Benoit Blanc. And even that gets sort of subverted at a certain point. Overall, I thought this thing was a total winner. I really deeply enjoyed it. One of my only criticisms is that I thought like a couple of the actors I didn't think quite got their due, to be totally honest with you. But I will say Josh Brolin perfectly cast, especially because he's kind of like notoriously a bit of a scumbag in real life. And so like the performance here kind of works. I'm not dissing his acting, to be clear.
No, I know. Yeah.
It's the opposite. But yeah, I thought this was another slam dunk from Rian Johnson. Not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I mean, it is fascinating that Josh Brolin's last two performances were the ones he gave in this and the one he gave in Weapons, which different but similar in many respects without giving too much away. But yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, I think there are a couple, like, I feel like Kerry Washington doesn't really get as much as she could do here. She's kind of sidelined more than I would have cared for. I also felt like Mila Kunis was like kind of miscast.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, she's a fine actress when she can,
sticks out. Like, yeah, but it's not. She's not the right actor for it.
It needed to be like Carrie Coon or something. Like it didn't really feel like that was the right fit for her. But
I just watched Avatar. You know what? What's her name from Sopranos? The wife
Edie
from Sopranos. Edie Falco. Thank you. Yeah. She would have been perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
Call
I'm
her
thinking
up. Maybe they could stitch her in real quick.
Yeah, I mean,
Netflix
I'm thinking, I guess with Carrie Coon, I'm thinking like Fargo season 2. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I will say, I think overall, this is probably my second favorite of the Knives Out films. And yeah, I mean, as you were kind of alluding to, it can be a little messy in structuring. It can sometimes maybe exceed its grasp, but I still think it's still extremely thoughtful, very clever, and just, fantastically entertaining. Like I really appreciate how much Johnson adheres to this sort of, like you said, Agatha Christie style, but also leaves so much room for just fun, playful surprises and just things you just typically wouldn't expect, and it just kind of constantly ups the antes and fun and exciting ways. And I also love how much the titles of these movies also end up playing into their respective stories while all being like song titles and stuff like that. I was prepared for this to be, going into it, I had heard it was like the weakest, and my thing was going to be like, U2 isn't, Radiohead or the Beatles, but they still have some good songs. But my analogy doesn't really work because I thought like this movie, was like you said, a winner.
Yeah, a bit of a return to form. I liked what Clint Worthington said, his Letterboxd review. He brought up, if you set the Rian Johnson, Benoit Blanc trilogy against Sir Ken's Hercule Poirot flicks, he's referring to Kenneth Branagh, they fit fairly neatly next to each other. Knives Out is the spirited chamber piece, so Orient Express. Glass Onion is the big, bright, brash outdoors mystery, Death on the Nile. Wake Up Dead Men, then, is Johnson's Haunting in Venice, a darker, gothic, slightly more serious mystery that plays on the supernatural and presents our sleuth with a true test of conscience. Would you agree with like that kind of mapping?
I think that 1-to-1 is apt, but I feel like I appreciate these movies more because I like the first Murder in the Orient Express fine. I know you weren't. I don't think you were crazy about any of them, right? To my recollection. I thought the first one was fine. And I feel like I appreciated how Kenneth Branagh tried to chain things up with the sequels, but I just feel like they kind of got in over their heads both times. I know some people like Haunting in Venice, but I thought both sequels didn't really come together in a satisfying way. And I feel like these movies, even though they don't quite live up to the first movie, are really engaging and entertaining and know how to make good use of their actors and characters for the most part. Obviously, I kind of pointed out early on my individual criticisms, but
I see them as worthy. They're both worthy follow-ups in an anthology where the first one is just like so high quality.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know what's next for Rian Johnson, but it's just exciting no matter what. Like if he wants to make 12 of these, I'm all for it. I think if they're all at least on this level or Glass Onion's level, I'd be totally fine with him.
He's not doing the Star Wars trilogy anymore. That's officially, I mean, we knew it, but
that was always
the pretense is gone.
Yeah, I think that was always a pipe dream. But if he wants to do original projects, I mean, it's also like all the better. I think he's in a really exciting place in his career where he can kind of just basically do whatever he wants, and I have faith in it because I think he's going to put something clever and smart and engaging and massively entertaining together and get good talent and hopefully a good budget for those as well. So, yeah.
I definitely agree. And I think one of the things that I appreciate about these movies especially is that I think he's finding new things to do with the Blanc character that are interesting to me and not low-hanging fruit. Because like there's this whole setup in this about how he's not a religious person, Benoit Blanc. He has a different register though in this movie. Like he doesn't have what I would call a character arc, to be totally honest, but it just seems like he's more kind of like having fun in this like goofy premise and like breaking a few rules like he typically does. But there was something about the way he approaches the mystery in this that does feel so different from Glass Onion, like almost kind of like he's taking it less seriously. Like this is all just kind of fun for him. They kind of reference like one of the things that made him famous, one of the mysteries that made him famous, and they could have so easily done a self-referential, like that time you found that glass onion, or like, oh yeah, with the time you found out who killed the novelist. But instead they just picked something like totally different that we've never seen that movie. We've never seen that mystery play out. And I think that kind of just speaks to how Johnson views this guy as kind of this like, I don't know, as like a Sherlock Holmes who is just a bit more affable, a bit more like laid back. And I think it works here because Josh O'Connor is just such a powerhouse in terms of like the dramatic stuff and like what he's kind of going through in this movie. I just think it's a stellar performance overall.
Stellar for which performance?
For Connor.
For Connor. Yeah, Connor's great in this. I mean, like I said, I just think he's having a bang up year and just doing some really great stuff. I mean, I think he also has that Spielberg UFO movie coming up, and that seems like it's going to be hopefully another winner for him. Yeah,
hopefully it's going to be out of this world.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, in some respects it can feel like Blanc is sort of like Johnson's avatar, like he can kind of, voice his dissents and opinions on things. But, I appreciate how much they're willing to kind of let the grand themes of it and the ideas of religion play into like a lofty way without it feeling like a sort of like Ricky Gervaisy, like take down, the atheist is going to like, this is what's wrong with you.
It's not a condescending movie at all. Like it's not, but it's also not like this reactionary, like, hey, everybody, you should convert to Catholicism. Like it's not doing any of that actually. I was curious what you thought, because I mean, you grew up Catholic. I didn't.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of what I know about Catholicism is just through observation and all of that. I grew up in the evangelical world. So like we have our own kind of, it's like when you're watching Righteous Gemstones, you're like, well, there's John's life. And then when I'm watching Wake Up Dead Man, I'm like, where's Will? I don't see him in the background.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not. I mean, certainly grew up in a much bigger town than this film. But yeah, I mean, I actually. Sure.
Okay, population four or five.
Yeah. Actually, the person's opinion, I was thinking about watching it and thinking about now, like, I'd love to hear Abby Ochessy's opinion. I feel like she would have a lot of great things to say, especially considering her book. But yeah, I mean, I think it's, like I said before, it's all very thoughtful, and I think it's all well designed. And I think the movie reckons pretty well with the idea of like the modern Catholicism in a world where you kind of have to reckon with the fact that people are using and abusing people's faith to kind of push their agendas and have these sort of just heinous and cynical intentions and using it in the name of faith. I'll have to kind of be careful what else I say because I don't want to spoil anything about the film, but I think it's all, very relevant and in a way that, like I said before, it doesn't feel like it has to be like, like the person of the day Twitter stuff. It's just kind of very, current and timely, but it can feel also something that's like, of a book, a novelesque kind of story in its own respect. And that's why I kind of went for these movies. They have that kind of blend of novelistic and cinematic. And I appreciate, again, much like with the Glass Onion, it even though it is a Netflix production, it does, at least watching on the big screen feel like appropriately, well spent blockbuster. This isn't like, Train Dreams where it was acquired by Netflix. It's a Netflix production, but doesn't have that like overly glossy sheen. I feel like that is so apparent of these other Netflix movies. It does kind of feel like a, just a well-rounded movie, its own friend that just so happens to be under a Netflix dollar.
Yeah, we have two other movies to get to, so we'll have to cut it off about here. But I do want to end with Abby Olchessy's Letterboxd review, because you brought it up. She gave it 5 stars and a heart on letterboxd.com. And she wrote, this is the movie I would write if I wrote a movie. The difference is, if I did it, it wouldn't be this good. But Abby Olchessy, former co-host of Cinemaholics, I disagree. I think if Abby wrote a movie, I think it'd be a total banger.
But yeah, I do think it's very much an Abby Olchessy kind of film, just from, her time on the show and just knowing her and stuff. I'm glad she really enjoyed it as well.
We'll just do a super quick Rotten Tomatoes guess. We'll just do the critic review. What do you think it is? We have 190 reviews counted on Rotten Tomatoes. What do you think the score?
I feel like the reaction to this one's been slightly more muted. Like you said, maybe it's just the fact that less people have seen it, or it's just less available at this time. Maybe it'll be more widely discussed when it's actually on Netflix. But yeah, it also kind of seems like the reactions are a little more withdrawn, at least compared to like what we're talking about. It doesn't seem like people are as with it. So I'm going to say 84%.
Will Ashton, you know what you need? You need a little bit more faith.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 93%.
Oh, wow, okay.
I think we're in different bubbles. I have seen way more positive reactions just in the Blue Sky world, which I know you're in the Twitter world, right? And who knows what you're seeing on that thing.
Yeah,
I sure don't.
A lot of Mad Men tweets so far.
And hey, 94% on the popcorn meters, the audience thing. But yeah, so that's Wake Up Dead Man again. It'll be on Netflix on the 12th, December 12th. And yeah, if you happen to be in a town that has a movie, we're saying, hey, go check it out. 2 hours and 20 minutes, but definitely 2 hours, 20 minutes well spent, especially if you like the previous Knives Out movies.
This flies by pretty quickly.
I thought so. All right, next film we're going to talk about is Train Dreams. I should probably dig up my Train Dreams review from Sundance, because I did see this one in January. This was like, I think this was my favorite of the festival, in terms of like a dramatic movie at least, because Ballad of Wallace Island was like my favorite in terms of, that was the one I had the most fun watching. I laughed throughout. Train Dreams was the one where I was like, ooh, yeah, this is gonna make some,
Oh,
some heads turn come award season.
I didn't even get to mention. I started Ballad of Wallace Island. I still need to finish it, but
You couldn't get
uh,
through it. You were like, how do I explain
no,
to
I just
John that?
something came up, but I started.
Yeah,
I
you're
know
like,
how much you liked
something
it,
came
so
up. I had a scratch on my nose, so I had to like get up and do that. And it's like that was way more interesting than the movie. And so, yeah. But yeah, no, Train Dreams. This was a new film from Clint Bentley, who co-wrote it with Greg Quidar. We talked. I want to say we talked about Jockey, his last film back in 2020, 2021, something like that. But he did also write Sing Sing back in 2023. But I thought Jockey was very good.
yep.
Another kind of Sundance movie. But this one, totally different kind of, like definitely a more sprawling kind of epic movie, if that makes sense. A little bit more like, what's the movie you would compare this to the most? Well, because a few went through
Uh,
my mind.
I mean, I don't know specifically the film, but I mean, it's very much indebted to the Malikian kind of structure and style, and like this kind of expansive but evocative kind of story, and kind of having a novelesque kind of tale, almost like Big Fish is in a weird way. If like the character from Big Fish is telling his own story, but without the fantastical kind of elements of it, I guess. So,
So it's so funny you say Tree of Life because I was going to say Days of Heaven, also
yeah,
Terrence Malick.
Malick, yeah.
Yeah, but and I wasn't really thinking Tree of Life, but I mean I see the comparison there for sure, for sure. I saw some people kind of compare this as well to like Assassination of Jesse James and
Well, yeah, I mean, Dominique is very much indebted to Malick as well, so that makes sense.
yeah, that's totally fair. But anyway, so Train Dream stars Joel Edgerton, and the movie kind of is an account of like one man's life. It's the life of a guy who grew up like in the era of the Great Northern Railway. So this was like when people would go and they would like build the railways like all throughout the kind of West. And so he lived this life where he'd be with his like family and stuff, and then he would have to like leave for like months or even years at a time to go work on this railroad to like make money. And it kind of like charts his life mostly from the 19th century and then going into the 20th century. And again, a very kind of sprawling epic sort of movie. It did really well at Sundance. People seem to really, I mean, I responded pretty well to it. I mean, the theater I was in, like people were like bawling throughout this thing. There are a few things that go down that are like pretty intense. But I remember talking to some critics around the time, like when it was coming out, who really thought it was well done. They really felt like I remember when Netflix got the distribution rights, there was a lot of like, like this is a movie theater movie. Like this is
It is,
something that
yeah.
we really think we really want people to experience that way. It did hit select theaters early November, but yeah, it's already on Netflix now, so you can kind of
Mhm.
just go check it out. But I think we would. I mean, I don't know. I assume you agree that if you are going to see
Oh,
this
yeah.
movie, I mean, this is a big screen kind of production. We also have Felicity Jones in this, by the way, Clifton Collins Jr., Carrie Condon, and William H. Macy. But Will, yeah, what did you think of Train Dreams?
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw maybe the only, I would have to assume the only theatrical screening of it in Pittsburgh, just because Netflix has been, now that there's a Pittsburgh Film Critics Society, they've been very nice about giving us some of the theatrical screenings to some of their films. So
Ah,
that one this one I got to see thankfully in theaters. It was one I really wanted to see in theaters, and I was bummed that it didn't get more theater play. I mean, I feel like Netflix is in this very strange place right now where they've made it clear like they don't really care about theatrical, but they keep like doing things like they bring K-pop Demon Hunters to theaters for like a weekend. It'll be like the highest grossing film of the weekend, and then they're like, "Oh, you want to keep it for the rest of the week?" They're like, "Nope, it's going out of theaters," and then they're gonna put like the Stranger Things series finale in theaters through like AMC and other things. And I don't know, I don't really know what their objective is. I don't know if they know what their objective is with theatrical at the moment, but it seems like they don't like making money. Not that I feel like a film like Train Dreams would have taken the box office by storm, but when you think about something like Bleecker Street, if they had distributed, I think they would have made the effort to, or Neon or something would have made the effort to give this a proper theatrical play, and I think that's really where this movie comes alive. Not that the Netflix experience might be wanting, I have no idea, but I can only assume compared to the theatrical. But yeah, I like this movie. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like some people are like 5 out of 5 stars, masterpiece. I'm really, blown away by it. And I've talked to or seen some other reactions where it's like 2.5 out of 5. Like they think it's very pretty, but they don't get much out of it emotionally. I'm definitely somewhere in the middle, I think. I think
what a surprise.
Well,
You don't have
know
strong
me.
feelings about it one way.
No, I like the movie. I think it's very good. I just don't feel like I was like as like blown away in that respect. Like I don't think it's like one of the year's top 10 films. I think it's gorgeous. I love the cinematography. I think sequences in it are some of my favorites for the year. I mean, I especially love all the stuff with William H. Macy. I think his character is fantastic. His performance is like, it takes you a moment to even recognize him. Like he kind of just disappears into the role, and he's just, so astounding in this. And between this and Running Man, it's kind of nice just to see him in movies again.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was caught up in the like college scandal thing and it hurt his career or whatever, if he's just been on Shameless or what the deal is, but it's just nice to see him in movies again. He's a great actor, and I love him as a performer. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely stuff in this I really enjoy, and I think it's overall, I especially the ending, I think I was kind of won over again by it because I was struck by how emotional it is, but in a way that doesn't feel dishonest. Like it doesn't feel like it's going
it earns
for
it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's going for the treacly ending. It feels like grounded and, like you said, earned, but in a heartfelt and touching way. And I think that really won me over even more so than it was already. But yeah, I liked it. It seems like you like are in the love camp.
Oh yeah. You know what really resonated with me with this movie was how, it's telling the story about one of the many invisible people in this country who like helped build, these things that just end up becoming history. Specifically trains like are something that the people sacrificed entire livelihoods and connections. They put everything into making these railways that ultimately would get replaced by other technology later. And, this is like history happening in this man's life, but it just doesn't seem to have a place for him or the people like him. And the movie definitely like brings that up over and over again. And it's like the ongoing tension is whether or not he's going to kind of fall to the wayside or kind of lose sight of himself and just kind of be another forgotten person, or if there's something to like this fleeting splendor or like beauty of life that he can have for himself and not something that he has for anybody else. And I think that for me is like what really swept me up in it, because it's so much restraint in that respect from Edgerton, because he's not going for the melodrama. He's not soaping it. He is like this weathered, sunburnt dude. He just seems kind of real to me throughout. Mm-hmm. And I think the only thing with the movie that, kind of reflecting back, because it has been some time, and the thing that sticks out to me the most is like how I was feeling when we had this like big traumatic moment with his life. It does feel pretty abrupt. It does feel kind of there is an inevitability to it, and there just is this like sometimes this kind of thing happens in life and you just cannot control it, and it doesn't feel correct. Like it doesn't feel like a typical story in that respect. It doesn't have like the usual trappings of like, but then this happens, and then this is how he's going to get over this, and then it's just kind of like life just keeps going on. And I just think the way like Bentley was able to kind of bring us through that in this sort of like beautiful, sweeping sort of like cinematography that is just constantly being like, yes, it sucks, life sucks, but like, look how beautiful this world is. And yeah, there was something about that just kind of hit me pretty hard. Yeah, I thought that like I love a movie where the villain is nature, but also nature is kind of like the supporting character too, So yeah, I think that's kind of like the big thing for me. It has some existential poetic stuff in it that I thought was really well done. And a lot of that comes to the novella
That
this is based on.
Yeah, and it feels, as a term I already kind of use with Wake Up Dead Man, it is like, very cinematic and very novelistic kind of film. maybe even more so in many respects than Wake Up Dead Man. But yeah, I mean, it does kind of feel like a rich spun tale. I think for me, I guess, and this is something I feel like we kind of go back and forth on when we talk about with Malick, is that I think one of the things I really love about him, and something that I feel like you kind of like it or you don't, is that there's something very organic about his style of filmmaking. He uses a lot of like improv, and like things are just kind of shot in the moment, and he'll edit in such a way that it feels like you're kind of just catching a slice of life moment. And I feel like a lot of times when they try to capture that in like a commercial or something, it doesn't feel as authentic to me. And there are certain moments in this that feels like when they try to do the Malick thing, it kind of feels like when I'm watching those commercials and it's like, you know, people are with their families and they're running around, and it's like, I don't know, it doesn't feel as like organic to me as something like Malick, where it is of him. And I think the movie's better about that than other films I've seen that have tried to copy that Malickian kind of thing. And I think it's certainly better than any of the commercials that try to do it. I think those are always sort of tedious for me to watch. But yeah, I do feel like that kind of comes into my thoughts. And I think part of that for me is the fact that I think the weak link of the film, and it kind of reminds me of, I feel like a lot of people's criticisms of The Brutalist, which I don't fully agree with, but I feel like are more apt here, is with the Felicity Jones, who I don't think is bad. I don't think she's bad in The Brutalist either, but like,
Yeah.
I think in both films, she's like in a very sort of grounded, like emotionally kind of weathered story. And she's giving like a very kind of like, you know, traditional dramatic performance. And it feels like she's kind of out of place in both stories.
To be honest, I kind of wish Jessie Buckley had been in this instead of Hamnet.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I like she's a very good actress. It just feels like in both these films, and I think it kind of works ultimately for me in The Brutalist because it's leading up to like the like conclusion of this big epic story. So I feel like the emotionality that she kind of brings to that by the end is kind of earned because you've been there for the expansive amount of time, and it's building up to that. Whereas with this, it's like about the setup. And I feel like her performance style doesn't always fit what they're going for here. And I feel like that kind of took me out of it in some respects. Even though I like everything else around it, I feel like that was kind of something that helped me back a little bit.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I liked Felicity Jones in this. I mean, she's one of those actors who I just like. She looks so young for her age. I mean, she always to me perpetually looks like she's in her late 20s, but she's in her 40s, like well into her 40s, and you wouldn't be able to tell. Yeah, you know, I did a brief kind of like run through Letterboxd and some of our friends of the show, and pretty resoundingly like high marks from most of our friends of the show. I saw a few 2-star, 2.5-star, but they're really kind of from like the usuals, you know, not from like the usual kind of critics who tend to have like a pretty contrarian.
The scallywags. The rapscallions.
There is one friend of the show who gave it 2 stars, and that's Isaac Feldberg. And yeah, we know Isaac, good buddy.
Yeah, I knew. I didn't end up reading his thoughts, but I remember when I was like doing a quick scan on Letterboxd, I saw he was one of my more negative mutual.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, here's what he had to say, and we'll look at a couple friends of the show who liked it as well. But yeah, 2 stars, and he said, "Here is a manifestly beatific and melancholy film with both nature and poetry within it that cannot abide the searching, spontaneous qualities of its source material nor adhere to Johnson's rougher, coarser vision of the American West." He's talking about Denise Johnson. At least not without reassuring us of universal truths that linger in spite of this character's job-like suffering, and effects striving to answer unanswerable questions with earnestly aphoristic sentiments about the connectedness of all things, about ecological cycles that precipitate our own existential renewal, about the insignificance of our lives in that larger design, and so on and so forth. Sturdily made and populated with striking imagery, the film is pleasing to look at, but does not have much to say. Perhaps this is the heart of the problem with the gruff voiceover narration, tasked with explaining away its main character's inner life, when the taciturn, grief-stricken Robert cannot know it himself. In this choice and others, the film's elegiac strain of romanticism is revealed to be tear-jerking but not revelatory. Insistent more than it is illuminating, it's far too lovely. But schematic in a sense as well, straightened out from something more temporally slipstream and thematically challenging into a benevolent, linear, gently lessening progression. And yeah, I just don't agree. I think like the main conceit of like it doesn't have anything to say. Yeah, I cannot abide that. I think the movie has something pretty unique and interesting. But I already kind of got into that.
Yeah, I mean,
what was your reaction?
I think we've talked about before. It has a sort of like John Henry kind of story going for it. Obviously not with the race component.
Yes,
But it
yes.
is to some extent it goes, but it's more kind of sidelined. And I don't know how you felt about that. I think it's all very interesting. I don't know if it fully gets its due in this story, but I also respect that, like, that's like not his life story, and it may have taken away from what the film was trying to do if it focused too much on
Right.
that. But also, there's also another scene, and I don't want to give it away, but it's like all done in like a long shot, and it's just like this incident happens
Yes.
with one of the guys on the crew, and it's like so funny, and it's so well done and well acted, and it's probably one of my favorite scenes of any film this year. I thought it was really, it was a well earned like comedic moment considering how serious the film is prior to that. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, I think it has something very rich and familiar, but also poignant to say. And yeah, I think it accomplishes that by and large, despite my quibbles.
I would agree. I would agree. And I think there's something to be said. There's something to be said about how, because like, as mentions the romanticism stuff, and like, I think what was coursing through my mind when I was watching it was like the way we were romanticized the Old West and what life was like, and the kind of like, white American sort of like frontier cowboy kind of guy, and the fact that this movie is a little bit more honest about what really kind of life is like in the micro and macro during that time, and how you can compare it to like the working class people of today, and how it's just like universally continues to be like, I think, a treatise on like that kind of person who exists like every day, like just making the roads go, doing the construction work, doing everything that the jobs that other people don't want to do, essentially. Now, Emma Sasek, friend of the show, aunt of the show, she actually gave us 2 reviews because she saw it back at TIFF, and then she watched it again in November. But both times she gave it 4 stars. Auntie Emma, she gives stars to all her kids, but not all her movies, right? 'Cause she's a critic. But she said, "Oh my goodness, this was so sweet and moving and devastating. This takes you through so many hard-hitting emotions until eventually leaving you in a very peaceful and warm space. Wonderful performances from this cast. And I have to say, this whole movie made me so excited to go back home to my plants." And then in her second review, she said, "A truly lovely and moving film that, despite all the sadness and tragedy, still gives off a cozy feeling." I do want to rewatch it because I'm kind of curious how I'm going to react the second time, and if hopefully I have a similarly positive second time with the film as well. Matt Donato gave it 4.5 stars. Allison Johnson gave it 4.5 stars. Friends of the show. Aaron Dicer gave it 4.5 stars. I mean, I could keep going. It just across the board, people wanted to get on the train. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I mean, even though, like I said, it's not going to be, I think, in my like top 15, it's very much probably going to be an honorable mention, just like a film that, I think it's very rich and something I am really glad it accomplished in such an ambitious way, especially for a fairly modest budget film. Like, I think,
yeah,
it feels very lived in and real, and a lot of thought and care went to make it that way. And yeah, like I said before, it's just kind of a shame that, Netflix isn't going to give most people the opportunity to see it on the big screen where you could really appreciate those things, but they're going to give it a big awards push, hopefully. So maybe that'll make up for it. Yeah,
they will. And on that note, what's your quick Rotten Tomatoes guess? 182 reviews, just a few fewer than Wake Up Dead Man.
I think, when I say like I see 2.5 star reactions, I think those are mostly from like mutuals and stuff. I feel like by and large, like you were saying, 3/4, if not, 4 out of 5 people critic wise are through the roof, like in love with this film, or at least like it, like me. So I think it's going to be like a 93%.
Will, you need even more faith than usual because it's a 96%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it just keeps going up and up. But who knows about this next one? So yes,
yeah,
that's Train Dreams. It's 102 minutes long. Again, it's on Netflix right now, but if you can check it out in a theater, there's a minute chance it's playing near you. Definitely check it out if you can on the big screen. I think that's where it really deserves to show up. And the Gotham Film Awards, I know it got nominations for Best Feature and Best Adapted Screenplay. It was funny because I was at the Avatar screening last night, and Eric from Awards Watch was sitting next to me, and he came by, and like he was like, "Oh, I got to catch up on the Gotham," because he had to like drive all the way to the screening, and typical Awards Watch, trying to get all caught up. So
what a tough life. Tough life.
Tough life. Tough
Tough to
life
say that.
indeed.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
All right, our last film of the day is Sentimental Value. This is the newest film from Joachim Trier. His last film was Worst Person in the World, which also starred Renate Reinsve. And I vaguely remember you being a fan of Worst Person in the World, same as me.
Yeah,
I forget
loved it.
how much we talked about it, if it was like a full-on
Oh.
review or...
Yeah, we had a review. It was like one of like several in that episode. I was back when we were like doing like 4 or 5 reviews an episode, and we'd break them up into like mini-sodes.
Like
you
today?
remember, like, yeah. So like, yeah, I think we went like at least like 10 or 15 minutes on that film. I think we talked about it fairly in depth. I like that movie a lot. It's one of my favorites from 2021, and I was really taken by Joachim, or is it Joachim?
Well, I think it's Joachim. That's how I say it.
Joachim Trier's previous film, Oslo, August 31, which is also in that Oslo trilogy. I'm a big fan of his, and I was very excited about this movie.
Yeah, for sure. And I just looked it up. We talked about it. The same episode, we talked about The House, The Worst Person in the World, The Pink Cloud. That was January 2022.
I like The House, and I like the Pink Cloud, but those are 2 very COVID films. Like, I just remember, like, that is COVID era for sure.
100%. Yeah. But all right, Sentimental Value, also takes place in Oslo, by the way. And so this one, and also in addition to the cast, we have Stellan Skarsgård, the legend himself. Great year for him between this and like Andor, and he's just kind of, I know Andor is not something you watched, but he got quite a lot of praise for, I think, like 2 scenes in particular from the second season of that show. But also Elle Fanning and Inga Ibsdottir Liljas, who, I mean, just to get ahead of it, I think is like kind of the secret weapon of this movie. She was by far and away my favorite part of the movie. Yeah, this one has definitely been getting a ton of talk as like up there. It's like this and One Battle After Another being like the big movies of the year, the 2 best movies, the ones that are most like among the critics at least, like these are the best ones. How do we decide which one we like more? That's what I've been seeing in my bubble. Curious about yours. The basic setup though is very indulgent to like, it's a movie about a film director essentially, but it kind of has a unique angle. So Stellan Skarsgård plays this like film director who's a bit over the hill, older on in life, a lot of skeletons in his closet in the sense that he left his daughters when they were pretty young, but they've kind of had a relationship over the decades. It's just kind of strained. Nora, who's played by Reinsve, has like become this kind of like fairly successful actress, like on the stage, like like in like the theater. But she, as we like kind of find out early on, she has like a sort of like selective stage fright. And then her sister Agnes is kind of a little bit more normal, I guess, like quote unquote normal compared to the rest of the like family, in the sense that she, she's married, she has a kid. We find out though that she actually was a child actress in one of Gustav's films. The film director played by Skarsgård. And so Agnes is played by Liljas. And the movie also kind of is like chronicling the life of this house and how this house that was like built a long time ago has kind of lasted over the years. And we kind of get vignettes over the course of the movie showing us like what the house means to the different people in the family, but especially Gustav. The main plot of the movie is that he wants to make a movie that's sort of him kind of reckoning with kind of the overlap he sort of sees between his mother's life and the life of his daughter, who he worries is going to like suffer the same fate, even though he kind of insists that the movies are, the stories are totally separate. But Reinsve is sort of like, yeah, I'm not. He basically makes the movie as a way to try to get her to like bond with him or to spend time with him, but she has put on like very clear distance with him and has no interest. And so eventually he just casts Elle Fanning, and it's this kind of like awkward sort of like Elle Fanning is like this American actress, and it's a movie that's supposed to be Norwegian, and it's on Netflix and within the universe of the movie. It's a very fun movie for critics. Like it's very fun if like you've been listening to Cinemaholics for any amount of time and you kind of enjoy the sort of like the sausage making stuff that happens with these films getting made, and then the everything that happens with like the awards and the festivals, and it's this whole world, it's this whole subculture that the vast majority of people out there have no idea what's going on or really care, to be quite frank with you. But when you know, you know, and then when you're in it, it is a very intoxicating thing. Pun may be intended. I thought Sentimental Value was good. I enjoyed this one. It's not one of my favorites of the year. I understand the hype. I get why people like it. I think for me, it was definitely missing something. And I have to admit that I as much as I love the Lilias performance, the Reinsve performance just didn't quite wow me in the same way. But I do find it to be a good performance. I had some interesting notes on that I'm curious if you'll agree. But I will say this: a little bit of self promo here. I actually think my review of Sentimental Value is probably the best review I wrote this year. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10 because I think it is a really good movie. Like, I'm not trying to be like, I gave it a really positive review, one of the highest reviews I've given this year. But I mean, I've seen a lot of other reviews that are like, it's a 10 out of 10. But hopefully, I think my review kind of sums up some of my reservations with the movie. I'm curious if you have any, Will Ashton.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I feel like I'm not 100% sure to what extent I liked it. I've kind of gone back and forth on if this is one I should give a heart or no heart. I tend to give hearts on Letterboxd to films like I just love. I feel like this is a movie I've liked, but I don't know to what extent. And I feel like
ironically, you did not give a heart to Last Christmas. You even though last year you gave it away.
I know, yeah. Wait, which one was Last Christmas?
That was the Christmas movie from 2019, Paul Feig, with Emilia Clarke.
That what a piece of doo-doo that movie was.
The only thing I remember for that movie is I said the twist out loud in the audience 10 minutes in, and a bunch of people got mad at me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I that was one of those where it's I knew what it was just because I heard the song 500 times. What do you think it was gonna be? Whatever. That movie stinks, stunks, sucks and stinks.
We're actually not going to review Sentimental Value. We're going to review Last Christmas starting.
Yeah, let's talk about Last Christmas. A film I barely remember. No, I mean, I feel like with Worst Person in the World, it's it's so expansive and it's insular to the character, but it feels very enriched and it feels very thoughtful and expansive. And then you have Oslo August 31, which is way more contained. It's literally a day in the life, and it can feel so deliberately kind of cold and reserved, but it still feels like you're very observant and you're gaining a lot from it. I feel like this movie, what kind of held me back a little bit was I kind of knew what the idea was by the beginning, and it's okay, I kind of get where this is going, I get what this is and all that, and then it keeps going, and I kept waiting for it to be something bigger than that or something more pronounced, and I feel for the most part it's just kind of stretched out and kind of, I don't want to say basic, but kind of expected, I guess. There's something about it that doesn't really feel like what you see from the promos is kind of what you're going to get with this in a way that I feel you're not really going to get the big revelation or something kind of more pronounced than that. It's just a very much a kind of contained family drama that happens to take place in the world of Norwegian cinema and the legacy cinema in Norway.
Norwegian?
Norwegian.
Isn't that the guy who killed
No. But I mean it ties to Ingmar Bergman, obviously, and it ties to
I was thinking of Bergman Island.
I was gonna say, I mean,
quite a few times.
Olivier.
Oh yeah, he's in. I forgot he's in Bergman Island too, huh? Yeah.
Well, he's the inspiration
because he's the big.
Hansen Louvre
he was in Worst Person, and yeah.
Well, I mean, he was Mia Hansen Louvre's partner, yes. And so he's the inspiration for Tim Roth's character in that film.
Yeah,
and I think that might be part of it. Is that I love Bergman Island so much, and I feel that movie's so rich and so involving that I feel this movie kind of doesn't quite reach those heights.
This movie doesn't have okay, I think this movie's better than Bergman Island, but Bergman Island has Winner Takes It All, and it has a scene that really hits with Winner Takes It All, the song. Sure. And so
that's a great scene.
That's what Sentimental Value is missing. If they had done a Winner Takes It All dance number, I'd give this a 10 out of 10. Period.
But I think really what makes it impactful for me, I think, are the performances. I think all of them across the board are really good in different respects. I think, the sister, I can't remember her name.
Lilias is her last name. That's what I
I think she's fantastic. I think she's, maybe the best performance in the film stealthily.
I think
you don't really
she is.
expect it going into it. But yeah, like she really becomes the like emotional core of the film and really, takes to heart in a way that I think is really moving by her big scene in the film. But Stellan Skarsgård, as to be expected, is fantastic. It's a great showcase for him. It's perfect casting for him. He, does exactly what you expect from him and gives a great performance.
There are not a lot of other actors who could sell the moment where he gives like those DVDs to the kid. Like the way he does it, it's like these DVD. I won't give away what they are because it's like the gag of it is so great. But he just does it so nonchalant. It's like, well, here you go. Like it's just perfect.
Yeah, she's great in that. Yeah, I I do think that movie or that scene's kind of like a little bit of like catnip for like the film Twitter and stuff.
Oh yeah,
that was fine.
You could see the Criterion closet in the background of the shot.
Sure, yeah. It still made me laugh, so I'm cool with it. I thought it was funny. But what was it?
Well, you're talking about his performance.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, he's, exactly what you expect from this. It's subtle, but it's nuanced in all the ways that you would expect from him. It's a thoughtful, compelling performance, and it's like kind of just waiting to see him crack is really the like dramatic tension of it, and he just really makes it feel lived in and engaging. And Renate Reinsve is also just really great in this. I don't think she's as good as she was in Worst Person World, but that's my thing. Film.
I think that she's doing the same thing she did from Worst Person, but not as good, and probably because there isn't that surprise factor. I think both movies, she's playing the same kind of person who, and this is how I put it in my review, where she is super articulate, except when it comes to her self-knowledge. Mm-hmm. It's a very specific quality of like a person. And I think that is like the beating heart of Worst Person in the World, and why I think that movie works so well, because the way she sells that exact kind of person that we've seen in plenty of other things, right? Like we saw it in like Lady Bird, but there's an extra thing to it where she is prickly, she's self-absorbed, but like it's all extremely sympathetic in just a way that is, I don't know, there's something about the way she is able to do that with like even like just expression alone that is uniquely hers. And in this movie, there was something about the performance that didn't quite hit all the way for me, except for like the stage fright stuff. I thought was like when she was the most interesting to me as a character, to the point where I didn't miss her when she wasn't on screen as much. Like I wasn't kind of like, where's Reinsve? She's really carrying this movie. If anything, that's how I felt about the scenes between really like Lilias and like a lot of the other actors here, but specifically like the scenes between her and Gustav. Like I was just like really, because it was just such an interesting dynamic. And, especially like this kind of person who she's not like that one note character who's like kind of outside the family, like, I'm the one who never did showbiz. It's like, actually, you kind of get the sense that like she's probably the most talented person there, but she just made the choice not to do that with her life. And there's just something about that I thought like the film understands how interesting that is, and it doesn't overplay it, which I really respected.
Yeah, and I mean, I love how much it's about like it's not that Gustav is like a bad person. Like in his mind, he's doing something. Yeah, in his mind, he's doing something very like giving and thoughtful and loving. It's just like he can't really see like how
selfish he is,
selfish and alienating it is. Like know, and self-serving it is. Even though he thinks he's doing something very like, honorable and then like timeless and something like that, but
not direct. People keep trying to get through to him, and he just will not engage with people in a real, genuine, authentic way. He just kind of dodges and deflects. He has an avoidant personality, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it especially with the artist persona, it's really fascinating about like family is something that is like something that maintains itself throughout your life. But when you're an artist, you get so focused on something, and that's your life for however period of time. And especially if you're a filmmaker and you have to focus on this own little world, it's like that's your world, that's it, and now you got to move on to the next project, and then you don't really think about the ramifications of that. And this movie, I think, talks about that in really interesting and thoughtful ways.
So listeners, what Will is trying to say, and it was subtext, is that this is how he feels about me, like writing all my short stories and publishing things and putting Cinemaholics on the back burner.
The family, yeah.
But I'm like, Will, I've decided to write a Cinemaholics novel, and I want you to be the main character. He's going to be like, screw you, John. Like, you're going to have to cast Corey Woodruff, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah. And then, yeah. But I will say, segue that to Elle Fanning's performance. I think she really has like kind of difficult tightrope to walk, where it's like,
well cast,
but yeah, I mean, it's a character. It's like she could have easily she could have played it too much into the ditzy, like aloof American,
but instead she's likable. She's extremely likable in this.
But also, like, she needs to like have, maybe she's not as smart as like someone like Gustav, but like she has the emotional forthrightness and awareness that he doesn't have, and she sells that in a way that feels authentic and doesn't feel like this is the third act of the film, so this needs to happen. It feels very organic to the story and comes alive, I think, through her performance and also the other performances, of course. But I think that's, for me, like, that's like where I think the script might have had some shortcomings. I think the performances really kind of make up for it. And so I think, I that's where I landed.
Yeah, like, you could argue the movie maybe over lionizes actors, in a weird way, where it just kind of, because it does kind of like play it safe in the sense that the actors they're flawed people in like normal ways, but they also are it's a little bit too neat and tidy when it comes to a lot of their character decisions and behaviors and stuff. And I will say, though, there's a moment where Reinsve gets rejected in like a very specific way that is like such a gut punch of a moment. And I was like thinking like, well, I hope they don't turn this into this like, jigsaw dramatic thing where we're going to go back and forth with it. Seesaw is what I meant. But no, the movie just kind of like leaves it. It's just sort of like, and that's that, And sure. I really, really liked that. I was like, yeah, you know what? That's pretty true to life. We don't need any further context or explanation or like, third act, like come to Jesus moment. It's just, she just kind of like has to like take that punch, metaphorically.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I was kind of bummed that you hadn't seen Jay Kelly before this, because I think it's really interesting to compare the two. And
I'm a bigger fan of Grace Kelly, especially the song.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, that movie is way more direct about tackling the like actor experience, whereas this is that it touches on obviously very similar themes and has its own things to say. And then I think, like I said early in the episode, I think it takes a more kind of maybe clinical or cynical take and has like some kind of like, whereas this movie is more influenced by Bergman, that has some like kind of Fellini-esque kind of moments that happen throughout the film. And yeah, I mean, they're very compatible, but they're also very different films. And I think there's a lot to compare and contrast there, but I think they're both good films. I don't think I loved either of them, but I definitely liked both of them. And I found a lot to appreciate in both films. And I think they're both, worthy of the praise that they're receiving, but probably not my favorites for.
I like how Jay Kelly is the sister here. We were kind of like trying to bring her up as like the stealth review of sure. Jay Kelly.
Well, no, I mean, I think I think that you can say more about the film on its own. I just think there is something very interesting about both these films coming out the same year, considering their thematics.
So I guess it's not a huge surprise that friends of the show on Letterboxd unanimously have had high praise for this one. Only one person had 3.5 stars or lower. Nobody had lower than 3.5. The only person who gave it 3.5 stars was Corey Everett, the creator of Cinephile. And everybody else, it's like 4, 4.5, 5. But like I said, it's one of those things where I think it's such a film critic catnip kind of movie, like you were saying. Like, it's so made for us that like I'm not surprised. And just real quick to kind of go through it, because people are like, friends of the show, who you guys have friends? Well, we do. We have Allison Johnson, who gave it 4 stars. Excuse me very much. And then we also have, going through the list here, Kimber Myers, 4.5 stars, and gave it the heart. Not her Last Christmas. Aaron Dicer, friend of the show, gave it 4.5. Oh, I missed one. Kristen Lopez also gave it 3.5. So Kristen and Corey both gave it 3.5 stars. Kristen didn't write a review, though. I'd be curious. She has like a Substack for her film reviews now called The Film Maven. So I give her a little bit of a plug there if you haven't checked it out. But who else here? Yeah, Man of the Jedi gave it a heart. That's why I assume it's, it's above 3.5 stars. I guess I shouldn't say for sure. Aunt Emma Sasic gave it 4.5 stars. not too surprised. I mean, she loved Worst Person in the World even more than we did. Isaac Feldberg, I know what you're thinking, Will. It's like, oh, John, you forgot about Isaac. You know, what is it, like 1 star, 1.5? No, Isaac Feldberg gave it 4 stars.
Yeah.
Our boy Isaac, he took one look at Sentimental Value and said, you know what? I value it. Okay.
Well, I thought you were going to say
don't go mental.
He's sentimental. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else here? Yeah, Alex Billington gave it 4.5.
I was going to point out my favorite letterbox, which is a critic I really like, but I don't think she hasn't been on her show, Fran Hoffner.
We've talked about her on this show.
Oh, sure. Yeah, she's great. I have a lot of respect for her. She gave it 3 stars, but
she does that for every movie.
Her 1-sentence review was just Clouds of Sills IKEA, which I got a big laugh out of. So.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clouds of Sills Maria. I saw that movie with Mike Overholtz.
Well, that's why I brought up Olivier Assayas, because that's I think a big influence on this film.
And I can see that.
Yeah, so.
That is Sentimental Value. Real quick, Lashin, what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes score is?
Oh, I'm just going to go with like 97%. It seems like everyone's just like loving movies these days.
I was wondering if you'd be like 100%. Actually, no, you got this one spot on. Congratulations. 97%. Well done. Out of 151 reviews. So we literally went lower and lower in terms of how many, because the first Wake Up Dead Man was 190, and then Train Dreams was like 160, or 170, and this is 151. So Sentimental Value, 2 hours and 13 minutes long. We didn't talk about the release cadence for this one, but it did have its like big festival rollout. It came out in Sweden back in October, and it's going to be hitting the US in wide release, I think, or sorry, the UK on the 26th. I'm not seeing the United States here, but I know it's been playing in limited release. I don't have any other details though, so I'd have to look it up. But yeah, this is Neon, by the way, and I believe Mubi have it for UK and like a couple other countries as well. So check it out if you can find it. Yeah, it was released in select theaters in the US November 7th. That makes sense. And it's going to be rolling out in more markets in December, like I was saying. And it looks like the UK, again, it's going to be Mubi. I'm sure that they'll have like theatrical, but should also be on the streaming service too, I want to say.
Probably.
I'd imagine. But all right. That is Sentimental Value, and that is our show. Well, actually, if we did manage to do an episode of Cinemaholics next week, what do you think are the top contenders for us to talk about? That's going to be coming out.
Well, before I answer a question, I was going to say, I like that you almost said Sentimental Value, which is
Cinemaholic Value.
Sentimental Value.
Sentimental.
I guess could be another title for this film, Sentimental Value. I mean, like
I said, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, by the way. Just
I don't have any interest in that. That first movie was so boring. What a snooze. I do plan to watch Eternity. I have that screener on my email. I got some other ones that I know you've seen. I just got The Plague.
Wait, which one?
Screener for The Plague. I know you saw that one.
Oh yes, I'd love to talk about The Plague with you. Great film.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for that before something, and I was like, oh, this looks fun. Like this looks like a good time.
There are 2 movies that are supposed to be hitting limited: Chronology of Water, the new Kristen Stewart, and then Rosemead, the Lucy Liu film. I'm curious about both of them. I'm not, losing my mind at the thought of seeing them soon, but yeah.
I think Hamnet's probably the best bet, because I am going to see that one soon.
It'd be fun to talk Hamnet, sure.
Yeah.
What about Marty Supreme? When are you going to see that one?
Oh, I have no idea. Probably Christmas. That's probably the earliest I'll be able to see that one, but
fair enough.
I hear that movie is, an A+ experience. I don't know if it's going to live up to it, but I'm excited.
That's one of the rare ones where I'm like, because I have the Vision Pro, and I'm definitely going to be seeing that on like the simulated.
Goggles.
Huh?
You with your goggles, just watching that at home.
My nerd goggles.
Your wife is just making dinner, and you're just like watching the ping pong ball go back and forth.
Yeah, and I think the week after that we'll have Ella McKay coming out.
Yeah,
curious how that one's going to do. I'm curious about that one for sure. But then other than that, I mean, not much to look at in terms of like big movies until Avatar, which interestingly enough, I thought was going to be Christmas Day, but that one actually is week before Christmas. I didn't know that.
No.
That's surprising to me.
I think they always come out on like the 19th or the 20th. That's been tradition.
Oh, do they?
For
okay. Yeah, for some reason I had in my head they come out like right at Christmas. So yeah, I did my mistake there.
No, Cameron has laid claim to that like date, I think going back to like Titanic, he's just like, I know when people want me. It's this date, this time of year.
Wow. And I know Testament of Ann Lee, I think I could see us talking about that because we've talked about Brady Corbett so much in the past. He just did the screenplay, of course, but
it's his wife, right? Directed
yes, Mona Fastvoid.
Who, I think she produced The Brutalist as well, right? Didn't she?
Yeah, they're all kind of like one wacky family.
Yeah. Traveling circus of 3+ hour movies, I guess.
If I ever meet his wife, I'll tell her all about the run-in I had with him at the Alamo Draft House and how I'll never forgive him for all those things he said. Okay. Thank you so much for listening to Cinemaholics. Yeah, what's up, Will?
There's also Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's funny. I just watched the third one, or second one, sorry.
One. I was gonna say, you saw a fake movie?
No, the second one. Because it was playing at like a bar that I was at with some friends, and so I saw like the last like 30 minutes of it, and it was one of those things where people were like, "Hey John, how you doing? John, you want to talk? Hey John, how's it going?" And I'm just like watching Kill Bill Volume 2.
You're like, "Shut up! This is the Superman monologue."
I think part of it too, I couldn't even hear anything, and I was just subtitles. Anyway, thanks so much for listening to Cinemaholics. Hopefully we'll be back soon. It would be fun to talk more movies with you, Will Ashton, rather than 6 months from now.
Yeah, no, I am free as long as you are.
Well, usually what happens is we're not free at the same times. This is one of those rare times where it really worked out. So I was happy about that myself. All right.
Me too.
That'll do it for us. Thanks so much for listening. See y'all next time from the Internet California. I'm John Agroni.
And from the Internet Pennsylvania, I am Will Ashton.
See you next time.